Let's start with Sumitra and Mary because you'll have traveled with your documentaries across the globe. Uh, what we attempted to do with Global Lives project is basically get 10 people from across the globe and make it into a video installation for anybody to go and see the diversity and similarity in 10 simple people. And they don't really need to have any USP in them. They're just 10 common people. So when you travel with your documentaries across the globe, have you seen this change in a common man that he feels when he sees a part of the world that he's not experienced before?
I just want to say the difference. I'm not just a documentary
Right.
filmmaker. For me, I mean, there are other areas also that I work with. I was just telling Jerry, what do you work, what do you do? So I said I'm an attention deficit hyperactive adult. So I have been doing hajar things at the same time, which still happens. So for me, documentary film is just the beginning of the work that I'm going to do the next. I mean, I travel not just to showcase the film, because this is the difference between being a media person and media advocacy. So more or less, I have been always labeled as a media activist who's involved in different projects, because I go there and then I have the community-based rehabilitation projects done on the basis of the films that are showcased. So, so this is one clarification that I want to give. So it's not just like I said, it doesn't end with, and you won't see it except for one project that I worked for 3 years, and that was selected in Sundance, and there was a lot of felicitation program, blah, blah, that happened. Otherwise, none of these films, in fact, the recent one, which I just completed for Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, National Trust, which is an autonomous body, these are all showcased at different places, like even day before it in Punjab and different parts of the country, where we are talking about inclusive society, where we are talking about people with different development disabilities who are still capable of doing so many things which you and I actually fail to comprehend. And like yesterday, for example, I mean, I'm sorry to say that most of us, I mean, the kind of things that they did, if a Shahid Kapoor or a Hrithik Roshan would do, which he will do in Guzarish, and we all, yeah, kya acting kiya. Arey yaar, real life mein jo karte hain, uske liye we don't, you know, we have these inhibitions, can't even put our hands together to clap. I mean, this is one thing that is happening with us people. And so the kind of documentaries that are made, they are basically with regard to some concept that we are taking forward. Different concepts which you and I will fail to, you can't have a dialogue for a concept like a lifespan approach, or multiple intelligences, or a rehabilitation of a commercial sex worker after a raid. I mean, you can just do that in media. I mean, all the channels, very good channels who do fantastic 24/7 reporting on whatever that happens. But then what? उसके बाद क्या है? It's very easy to say कि यहाँ पे ये चल रहा है, यहाँ पे communal riots है, ये आदमी ने ऊपर से छलांग मार के उसने खुदकुशी कर ली. But and then that ends there, you know. I mean, एक film बना लिया, you make a capsule, you make a, you know, small little, encapsulate the visuals that is happening for that particular moment, and then it is finitos. But I come from that background wherein, for me, it begins there. अरे ये देखा कहाँ पर हुआ? Okay, यहाँ पे ज़्यादा suicide cases हो रहे हैं, तो इसकी reporting की गई थी. कोई मीडिया वालों ने फिर उसको अवार्ड भी मिला, बिकॉज इतना अच्छा डॉक्यूमेंट्री बनाया इसके ऊपर कि यहाँ पे ये हो रहा है. फिर वहाँ पे जाके यूज दैट एज अ टूल फॉर मी टू एंटर. इट इज जस्ट अ गेटवे टू गो देयर एंड डू व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर दैट स्मॉल लिटिल प्लेस टू चेंज. वो एनवायरन, वो जो एम्बियन चेंज करने का जो हमारा एक मुद्दा होता है, वो हम करते हैं. सो दैट इज अगेन लाइक ट्राइंग टू ब्रिंग अबाउट यू नो दैट डिफरेंस जो बहुत कम लोग जानते हैं. तो देयर इज अ थिन लाइन. लेकिन प्लीज समझिएगा कि मीडिया एक्टिविज्म किसको बोलते हैं. इट इज़ नॉट जस्ट मेकिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज 50, वो तो होता रहता है यार जिंदगी. अगर अभी इफ आई एम 42 और फिर अभी और 2 हैं प्रोजेक्ट्स जो अभी करने हैं सेंस इंटरनेशनल के लिए, सम अदर थिंग विच कीप्स कमिंग इन, तो वो तो करना ही करना है. But that is not the ultimate thing, you know, it doesn't end there.
So do you think that the documentaries that you are going to make, which are going to show to people, how do you think that they're going to affect them because you're making the documentaries, you're making any sort of media, you're using media as a tool to
As it-
create some kind of awareness and
Absolutely.
to imbibe
At
some
the
kind
end
of
of
change
it,
in
it's
them.
always, issued in public interest for creating sensitization
Right.
and awareness
Right.
to bring about public sensitivity. I mean, वो अभी तो desensitize हो रहे हैं लोग मारा मारी को देख के या ये करके, but it is more or less to sensitize them to the issue of what needs to be done and not just be a simple ऐसा audience and appreciate कि अच्छा shot लिया है, अच्छा angle है, depth बहुत अच्छा है, light अच्छा use किया है, So definitely it does make a change because we have series of corporate sensitization programs and colleges में जाते हैं जबकि वहाँ पे दिखाया जाता है इन फिल्मों को because again seeing is believing. If I stand and talk about acceptance of people with neurological impairment, तो उनको इतनी समझ में नहीं आएगी. When I put up an Umul Khair, who is a wheelchair user and who's doing her law, and she has a lot of health issues also. जब उसको we put up and then she talks on the frame and when she is heard by others, तो acceptance बहुत easy हो जाता है. Sensitivity और ज़्यादा बढ़ जाती है. लोगों को किसी और को देखकर फिर उनके अंदर वो like a lot of films, whether it is on child labor, जब वो देखते हैं, समझते हैं, बच्चों को दिखाते हैं, तो उनको पता चलता है कि what they have and what the others don't have.
So, Mary, you've shot across the globe, and being a part of the United Nations, you kind of get access to a lot of stories, individuals and places where normal people do not get access to. It's only once we see your films on national TV and through the DVDs that you'll release that we get aware of such stories and issues. Do you think, like I spoke to you earlier, do you think that there could be any way where we could use media to get the normal public involved in getting access to these stories so that they can one-on-one see it as an individual rather than as an audience?
That's a tricky question. I mean, Sumitra said that she's an activist. I can't be an activist because I work for the UN. But what I try to do with my stories is to make a difference in people's lives. And regarding your question, yes, I think they can see it as an individual because we do sort of balance reporting. I know most of the media in the West, they try to sensationalize on people's tragedy. And I try not to do that. I try to write the story respecting the individual. But at the end of the day, I think if someone sees that as an individual, they can relate to a certain issue. I'll give you an example. We just came back from Senegal in July. And I was told by the agency funding the production that in this country, the people no longer want to have girls circumcised. And there's a whole protest against it. And so we want you to go there to tell that story. Well, I arrived in Senegal and I found a different story and I told that story. And that's what I try to do, truth in storytelling, not just what's handed me as an assignment. What I did find is that there are certain regions in that country that have given up the practice, but there's a huge, I think more than 14 regions where there's a strong belief that this is what we have to do. We'll continue to do this. We were born into this. This is our tradition, and we're not giving it up. So I took that back to New York, and the UN now knows that it has a lot of work to do to get that done. But I spoke to a young girl. She was circumcised when she was 7. And she said she never talks about it. She's 17 now. She never talks about the experience because she's ashamed even to discuss it with her friends. So I said, well, don't you think by talking about it to your friends, you can now make more young girls aware not to accept this happening to them? And she said, yes, you're making a good point. Maybe now I will go out and speak with other young girls. So I think one by one, we can make a difference in some lives and save hundreds of girls from such an experience. And this is what I try to do it to the best of my ability and tell it the way I see it on the ground, not what any agency or any media's agenda might be.